True crime story of Zach Bowen, who dismembered his girlfriend and cooked her body parts. 28-year-old Zach Bowen sat at the bar of the Omni Royal Hotel, in New Orleans. He finished his last drink and contemplated his life. He felt he failed in the way he handled things. There were two failures among many that stood out. The first was, he had taken the life of his girlfriend. The second was, he felt no remorse for doing so. It was time. He walked toward the outside terrace and looked down below. According to those who knew him, Bowen was just an ordinary guy who never drew attention to himself. That is until he joined the military. Bowen got married at the age of 18, and he and his wife had 2 children. He decided to join the army so he could better support his young family. Bowen quickly rose in ranks, becoming a sergeant during his tours in Kosovo and Iraq. Around this time, those who served with him saw a change in his personality. He became increasingly unhappy and clearly just wanted to go home. Bowen eventually received a general discharge and returned home. Bowen was bitter about his military experience and angry with himself. He felt he had failed as a soldier. Like many veterans, he had trouble adjusting to civilian life. He and his wife separated soon after his return. Bowen decided it was time to get back on his feet and got a job bartending. The French Quarter is a place that is abundant in temptations, ways to numb painful feelings. Women, alcohol, and drugs are readily available. Bowen became increasingly interested in Addie Hall, who bartended with him at the same establishment. Hall shared his love for drinking, and they soon moved into an apartment in Crescent City together. Bowen needed a lot of attention. He needed a woman to distract him from his loneliness. However, Bowen did not realize he had entered a toxic relationship that would spiral downward and lead to the destruction of both of them. In August 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast with fury. The citizens of Louisiana were hit particularly hard. Most people who were able evacuated their homes. Bowen and Hall decided to stay and wait out the storm in their apartment. Being stuck in their home was the perfect excuse to engage in heavy drinking and use cocaine. Because they spent most of their time intoxicated, they gave little regard to the seriousness of the situation. Hall even stood in front of her window and flashed her breasts at rescue workers as they worked to save others from their flooded homes. Like many of the region's residents, Bowen and Hall endured the aftermath of the storm, including massive power outages and lack of clean water. To them, this was all just another excuse to continue partying. They kept up their drinking and drug use, which heightened the tension between the two. Hall had a bad temper when she drank, and she released her anger on Bowen. When conditions in the Crescent City began to normalize, a new hurricane hit. That new hurricane was the relationship Bowen and Hall found themselves in. Unlike Hurricane Katrina, this hurricane would prove fatal for both of them. Bowen's depression approached a new level. His relationship with Hall was making his time in the military seem a walk in the park. Hall continuously unleashed her anger on him. He became the target of her emotional and physical abuse. They were constantly going at each other. On the morning of October 5th, Bowen woke up with a pounding headache. He walked into the bathroom and looked in the mirror. He saw the face of a man mired in darkness. He had failed as a husband and father, he had failed the military because he couldn't handle it, and now his new girlfriend was always angry with him. What had he done with his life? In that moment, he felt that Hall had pulled the rug out from under him. Right when he needed someone to care about him, she constantly persecuted him. Bowen left the bathroom and grabbed his belt. He walked down the hallway until he reached the other bathroom. Hall was in the bathtub. In one quick movement, Bowen put the belt around her neck and began choking her. The more she struggled, the tighter he pulled the belt. He kept tightening the belt until there was no longer any movement from her body. Killing her had not satisfied his anger. His rage was still burning. He went to the garage and returned to the bathroom with an electric saw. He drained the tub water and proceeded to decapitate and dismember Hall's body. He grabbed her head and carried it to the kitchen, where he placed it in a pot on top of the stove. He then returned to the bathroom and retrieved her hands and feet. Bowen placed them in a second pot and then placed her arms and legs on a turkey basting tray. He sprinkled the body parts with seasoning and placed them in the oven, which he then turned on. As for her torso, he put that in a large plastic bag and stored it in the refrigerator. The anger and delusional thinking that led Bowen to murder his girlfriend savagely were now focused squarely on himself. At first, he attempted to distract his self-loathing by binge drinking, taking drugs, and spending time in strip joints. However, the power of these distractions was short-lived. His demons reappeared in full force. Reaching for a pack of cigarettes, Bowen removed one and lit it. He then proceeded to press the lit cigarette against his arm. The burning sensation was his purgatory. He took the cigarette and burned himself again and again. Each burn represented 1 year of his life, a total of 28 burns. Bowen grabbed some paper and a pen and wrote a suicide note. He explained what he had done to Hall and where her body parts could be found. He shared his feelings of failure as a husband, father, and as a boyfriend. When he was done, he drove to the Omni Royal Hotel and had his last drink. After the last sip, he calmly walked to the outside terrace and jumped, killing himself instantly. Thanks for watching. Please share and subscribe on my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook @Monpy Stories for more.